Hello everybody and welcome back to another Magic Duels gameplay video. I am your host, Guru from Japan Gaming, and today we're going to take a look at the Madness deck. So this episode is going to be full of madness. Now the Madness mechanic is pretty fun. Let's go ahead and take a look at the cards real quick. If you want to skip this to see some of the games, feel free to do that. But first, let's go ahead and look. We have the Insolent Neonate, who's very insolent as a discard outlet. There's a lot of vampires in this deck because a lot of the vampires have the Madness mechanic in them. So that's why you'll see all these vampires. But we need a balance in this deck. We have a Sinister Concoction, which is a card with one of my favorite flavor texts, an old family recipe for an old family grudge. And this is another discard outlet. You want, a Madness deck to have kind of a balance, half, discard cards or, discard enablers, as well as your actual Madness cards which you want to discard. So Lightning Axe is always a good one. 1 mana to do 5 damage unless you pay 5 or discard a card, which is pretty much what we're going to do. This deck is all about discarding cards. Here's our first Madness card, the Asylum Visitor. If you discard it, you can pay the Madness cost and then actually cast it as you discard it. So that's what Madness is all about. So that's why we want to be discarding all our cards. The cost here is the same, but usually the Madness cost is cheaper. We have the Heir of Falcon Wrath, which transforms into a nasty 3/2 vampire if we discard a card, which of course we want to do. We have the Ravenous Bloodseeker, which we discard a card and it gets +2/-2. Usually you only want to trigger this once, of course. So that if you could trigger it twice, but if you do, it'll die. The Call the Bloodline is a good enchantment for being able to discard things anytime you want. By paying 1, and you can make a Black Vampire Knight token with lifelink and discard a card. The Macabre Waltz, or Macabre Waltz, however you want to pronounce that, is great for returning 2 creatures to your hand and then just discarding a card. So it doesn't matter about zombies, so you can get 2 creatures back that died and discard one of them and then play it while you're discarding it. Murderous Compulsion is pretty interesting in this deck, as it's an insta-kill for a tapped creature, but you can actually play this at instant speed with its Madness cost, even though it's a sorcery. So pretty unique. You can actually just discard it and play it when the opponent's attacking you. Avacyn's Judgment is another card with Madness as part of it. You definitely want to be casting it for its Madness cost instead of its normal cost usually. And this is a black-red deck, so Liliana is great in the deck. And especially the transformed version, the Defiant Necromancer, which has the +2 ability, each player discards a card, which is to this deck's advantage, and usually to your opponent's disadvantage. The Blood Mad Vampire is pretty nasty, as it grows bigger and bigger each time it does damage to a player, and its Madness cost is 2 instead of its normal cost, which is 3. Stincia Masquerade is very, very nice in this deck. Whenever a vampire deals damage, it gets bigger, and most of the creatures in this deck are vampires. And you can also Madness this out if you want, or play it normally. And then all your creatures having first strike is pretty awesome. So all your vampires have first strike. As always, we have the Fiery Temper as the combo piece with the Lightning Axe. You can cast this for 1 Madness by discarding it. And Alms of the Vein, which usually costs 3. You can cast this for just 1 black as a Madness card. So a lot of these are, the madness cost is much cheaper, and so we want to be casting all these for their madness costs. The elusive tormentor is another way to discard a card, and you can transform it into the insidious mist, which is a great way to get an unblockable creature through and do pretty much damage that the opponent can't prevent. It's a pretty unique vampire. Hopefully I can show it off. The Bloodhall Priest is very powerful too. Black-red creature. You can madness it out for 3 mana instead of 4. And it can deal 2 damage to any target whenever it attacks and whenever it enters. And most of the time our hand's going to be empty because we're discarding cards. The Archfiend, of course, rewards us for discarding cards by putting -1/-1 counters on all of your opponent's creatures. And that's opponents. So that also affects Two-Headed Giant as well, because that means both of your opponents. The Twins of Maurer Estate, both vampires for 5 mana, a 3/5, or just a 3 mana madness cost, which is awesome. So yeah, all these cards are really cheap. They're for their madness cost. You know, the normal cost is 5 mana for this, the Incorrigible Youths, but the madness cost is only 3, has haste. And then we've got 8 swamps and 8 mountains. We've got our dual lands, as usual, dual black and red lands. A couple copies of Mortuary Mire to help get back valuable creatures from the graveyard. If we've lost something, we can get something back, like maybe Liliana, who's always a priority target. You can get her back with this. And then we've got the Cinder Barons, which is the other dual land. Enters tapped, so don't want too many copies of that just because entering tapped is always a negative thing. Alright, so let's jump into some games and see how the Madness deck works. Now, this deck is a little tricky. You want to have a kind of variety in your opening hand. You want to have some Madness cards as well as some discard outlets. So you got to be careful to kind of have a balance in this deck. You want as many Madness cards as possible, but you need ways to discard those Madness cards as well. So that's very important, and something to keep in mind with your opening hand, as well as if you want to make modifications to the deck. I'm sure there's some better changes. This is my variant of the deck, of course. The 5 mana, I drew 2 of them. The 5 mana Archfiend, is not a vampire, but I find it works really great with the Madness synergies because you're discarding so many cards, you can just shrink your opponent's entire army down to nothing. And of course the deck has a few, card draw effects, like the creature that's there on the field, the Asylum Visitor. And, the Visitor draws you cards if your hand is empty, which usually happens pretty quick. Now I get first strike, so that's why I'm attacking. And I'll get a +1/+1, because this is a vampire. So I can just keep growing this. So the Stensia Masquerade enchantment is really nice. You can attack kind of unopposed, even if the opponent has some blockers, because you get first strike. And if he doesn't block you, then you're going to get +1/+1 counters. So let me go ahead and see what he does here. He kept 3 mana up, so he might have something. Oh, he's actually going to chump block me. That's fine, I'll take that trade. or not a trade, I guess. I'll take that single exchange from his side. Maybe he just wants to embalm it. I don't know. No, he's just going to play a flyer. Good target for Lightning Axe. Drew Liliana, that's nice. But yeah, I'm really tempted to... Make sure you just play this. I'm tempted to play this whenever I get the chance. And yeah, he could have double blocked me there. I would have killed his 4/4, but his 2/2 would have taken me out even with first strike. So I'm going to sit here. And yeah, he's going to bring that creature back by embalming it. No problem. Because this 5/4, if it stays in play, is going to dominate. Alright, here we go. We got the Heir of Falcon Wraith, or whatever it is. I always wonder where they came up with some of these names. And I can discard, as you can see, with my creatures at instant speed. The 2/1 and the 1/3, you can use them for discarding, you know, any of the cards at instant speed. And then the Madness card, you can actually play at instant speed. Ooh. It's always an unpleasant thing to see. And he's going to make his token unblockable. Can't do much about that, but that's okay. Just take 3, but I'm about to destroy his board here. Let's go ahead and do the Lightning Axe. Let's see if... I'm not sure if the 4/4 or the 3/3 is better to take out, but we'll just go for the 4/4 because everything is going to be getting -1/-1. So yeah, as you can see, we've shrunk everything down now. And I can just cycle this, which also counts. So goodbye. And yeah, I can discard this too. And might as well go face with this because it's going to destroy his only creature. So we're playing these cards for their madness cost, if you were wondering, as I discard them. And Fiery Temper is great because it can also go face. And my vampire transforms, and yeah, he's got nothing. Everybody gets first strike. And yeah, that was a blowout. I kind of feel sorry for the opponent. But if he was still alive, even after that brutal attack, you see all these vampires here, we get +1/+1s on them. And so we'd have a pretty nasty army attacking next turn. Three of my creatures were about to get bigger. Alright, let's check out another game. See, this deck is fun. It's got some interesting ideas and some interesting choices to make. That hand had a bit too many lands in it, that first hand. So we'll try this one, although Sinister Concoction is a pretty interesting card because your opponent knows about it. You know, it's a kill card and your opponent gets to know about it. So, because it sits on the field, so they could kind of play around it by not playing their valuable creatures. But I'm just going to go ahead and put both of these concoctions out there. And once again, I'm mainly using them as a discard outlet. A way to discard cards as well as, destroy a creature of my choice. So when designing the deck, yeah, balance is definitely key. And unfortunately all my mana was tapped there, but I could have actually played a card out of Madness there. Such as the Blood Mind, I guess it is? Vampire? Not Blood Bond. Once again, I don't know how you could like memorize all the names, but yeah, like if your opponent plays a discard creature, kind of like that zombie, or some kind of creature that forces you to discard, this deck is great because you actually want to discard those cards. So let me go ahead and show how the concoction works here. I'll kill his 3/2, and I'm going to discard the vampire here. Blood Mad Vampire it's called, sorry, not Blood Mind. So yeah, you think that discarding cards is an advantage, or a disadvantage, I mean, but in this deck it's an advantage. So a lot of fun to discard them and then play them as you're discarding them. And I'm fine if he attacks me with that 2/2. I'd like to hit him in the face with my 4/1 because it automatically gets counters on it when it hits an opponent. And once again, this Murderous Compulsion in my hand, you can actually play this at instant speed by just discarding it and destroying like a creature that's attacking, because of course when a creature attacks they tap. So it's an interesting card. Even though it's a sorcery, you can play it at instant speed, and often that'll surprise your opponent and can get them off guard too. You could even play creatures at instant speed when usually, almost like they had flash. That 3/2 has Intimidate, but I've got some black creatures, so to block him. And Archfiend is an interesting choice again. Always great to play if you can, but I'm short 1 mana. So the question is, shall I discard it or cycle it? I'm going to go ahead and cycle it here. So yeah, there we go. I wanted to hit at least my 5th land. But if I want to transform this, I'll have to discard this. So yeah, I guess it didn't really matter. Hopefully I should be able to pick up a 5th land. Usually this deck can perform with 5 lands. That's really all you need. But I kind of want to show how the Insidious Mist works also. Oh man, well that's unfortunate. But I'll get to create a zombie and transform Liliana here, so... Go ahead and take this trade. Liliana takes 1. But now I can use her as an infinite discard outlet. Well, I was hoping for a Madness card. I can play the... Well, I guess I could play this and the... Let's discard the Compulsive Disorder. Or Murderous Compulsion. Bleh, I'll never learn all the different names here. And he couldn't target my 0/1 there. Now I'll force the discard here. He couldn't target my 0/1 because it has hexproof. It has hexproof and indestructible, and cannot block and cannot be blocked. Yeah, sadly, Liliana is going to take a bit of damage here, but I'll still keep her, so that's good. And hopefully I can draw a Madness card here. Yeah, that's a Madness card. Usually like to keep it for something bigger, but... So we can either discard this with the Concoction. Kind of a waste to kill a 1/1, but that's okay. Clear his board, and then we can go ahead and plus Liliana. Nothing to discard. But yeah, Liliana's ultimate is great, and If I could just draw some madness creatures here, will be good. 2 nests of scarabs, huh? That could be bad. Bummer, that is not a madness card. So we'll go ahead and show how the mist works here. I can attack with it if it attacks unopposed, which it always does because it's unblockable. You can transform it. And you get in 4/4 pretty much unblockable damage. And we'll just keep ticking up Liliana here. Nothing exciting really going on. I haven't gotten any of my card draw. Ooh, that could be unpleasant. Haven't gotten any of my card draw out. There's the Bloodhall Priest, though. Can madness this out with Liliana. So, we can play this for 3. And it does 2 damage, so I'm going to do it to the opponent's face. So just kind of showing how discarding it, is cheaper. And when it attacks also I can do 2 more damage. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this under the bus. That's why I decided not to transform it. The 4/4 is a little more valuable. And then of course I got another discard outlet, which I don't need really. But yeah, Liliana is pretty much to her ultimate here almost. Next turn, if I want. And since my hand's empty, 2 to his face and 4 for the attack, so it does 6 damage. But the Insidious Mist can be quite nice if there's a board stall and you need to push some damage through. Alright, well, he's dead since all he drew there were lands. Just for fun, let's go ahead and get our emblem, since we hardly ever get to see the Liliana emblem. And we'll go ahead and play Avacyn's Judgment for its max value to his face. I think you can target multiple creatures if you want. That's what it was asking me to do there, if I wanted to target my own creature, but I did not. And we'll go ahead and put him out of his misery, I guess, after creating a 1/1 vampire. And yeah, another good showcasing of how the deck works. Surprisingly effective. Let's try one more game. Alright, want to try one more round here with the Madness deck, and then we'll go into a 2-headed giant round with my good buddy Wild Boar as my teammate. And we'll see how the deck performs in a 2-headed giant match. Okay, this hand is a little iffy because all I've got is Madness cards. You want at least one kind of discard outlet if possible. But I went ahead and kept because my mana was really good, and these creatures are really good. Haven't gotten to show them off yet. The Incorrigible Youths and the Twins, both of which you really want to play for their Madness cost because it's so much cheaper. I mean, it's always cool to play a big creature for an actual cheaper mana cost. But yeah, I'm not getting any of my discard outlets. Another Madness card, so yeah, need a way to discard. I mean, the deck is full of that. So if you want to kind of make this deck yourself, keep in mind you need to have the discard outlets as well as all the Madness cards, or else it doesn't work too well. There we go. Although hopefully he doesn't have a counter. This is my discard outlet now. So now I have an infinite discard outlet, or a way to discard all these Madness cards. And I can do it at instant speed if I want. And that's the way you can like play these creatures at instant speed, which is quite interesting. You know, it's like all your creatures in your hand suddenly have flash. And they can be played during your opponent's turn instead of your turn as usual. So I always find that kind of interesting that the mechanic allows for that. So I could do this during his turn, but I'm going to go ahead and just do it now. Madness is out. And make a token. And I'm probably okay with a trade. You know, a 3/2 flyer can be annoying. This deck doesn't have a whole lot, you know, to deal with flyers. So if the opponent has a lot of flyers, that can be a problem. But we'll see how this game works out. Oh man, he's gonna play another Juggernaut. Huh? That creature has to attack, so I can kill it with the Murderous Compulsion. Yeah, so I can either Madness something out just to, you know, trade for it. If I play Liliana, I'll only have 2 mana up. That's not enough. So I think I'll go ahead and just attack with the 3/1 here. Oh, he's going to take that trade. Okay. Since the 5/3, I wouldn't mind trading for that. So we're going to go ahead and do this at instant speed. He has no choice but to attack with the 5/3. Oh, he's got 2 of them now. Okay. The 5/3 has to attack. So let's go ahead and discard a card, which is going to be our Murderous Compulsion here, which is usually a sorcery, but we're going to play it as we discard it at instant speed for its Madness cost. And destroy a tapped creature and make another token. So yeah, pretty cool, and often you can really surprise your opponent with this. And it's like, hey, how is he possible he's playing a sorcery at instant speed? Perfect. So we got Lightning Axe, and we can discard our youths, which we don't mind discarding, and play them. And they have haste. So yeah, that was a pretty brutal play there. Cleared his board, and he's almost dead. Down to 1. But yeah, the enchantment is nice. So it looks like the opponent's given up here. This enchantment's great because it's just an infinite discard outlet, and you can also just create infinite, you know, 1/1 vampire tokens. So let me go ahead and show off the twins, since I didn't get to play yet, although it has summoning sickness. And let's go ahead and give the opponent one last turn. I always like to try just to give the opponent one extra turn to see what they would do, but he did nothing. So that's unfortunate. Let's go ahead and just finish this game then. Oh, he's actually gonna cancel Liliana. How rude. With Essence Scatter. Well, I will respond with a bunch of vampires attacking. And he's toast. Good fun. Alright, let's go on and let's try this deck in a 2-headed giant round. This is gonna be fun. Alright, so here we go with a 2-headed giant round. Omatase, thanks for the wait. And let's see how the Madness deck performs in a 2-headed giant round. I'm with my teammate Wild Boar here. Looks like he's on some kind of green deck, taking a mulligan. I think I'm going to keep this hand. The Masquerade is always nice to have early on. And yeah, it looks like he's on some kind of elf deck. Or a mono-green stompy deck, who knows? Though he's got Nissa as his on-screen avatar, so I'm guessing it's maybe some kind of elf deck. So hopefully I'll get another discard outlet coming up here. So Druid of the Cowl is what Wild Boar played. So yeah, it looks like he's ramping actually. Probably gonna ramp into some big green creatures, hopefully. And hopefully I can stop drawing lands here, because flooding out a little bit. And I guess we're going to take 3 to the face. Got an Insolent Neonate in case I need another discard outlet. Not sure why Wild Boar played this using the mana from his creature instead, but I'm going to go ahead and transform this and play this out from Madness for 3 mana instead of 4. Always a good deal. Get to transform this vampire into a 3/2 flying creature and get to play a creature for 3 mana instead. Now the Neonate I can also use as a discard outlet. Looks like we got the -1/-1 counter deck going on our opponent's side. He's killing one of his creatures to keep a 4/4. That could be a problem. Oh, we got a 2/3 flyer too. That could be a problem also. Plus that 2/3 flyer puts -1/-1 counters on everything. So I might want to draw a card because I am flooding out here quite a bit. See what Wild Boar is going to play here first. Pilgrimage is usually better played, you know, when you've got some cards in your graveyard for spell mastery. So he's going to play out the Deathcap Cultivator for more ramp. And yeah, he's got quite a bit of mana there. He probably could have played the Gift of Paradise first, since that makes your mana tap for 2, but let me go ahead and let me see if I can draw into something better here. Play this Masquerade out. Nope. That is not something better. More lands, so yeah, I'm kind of stalled out here. I guess I'm fine trading off here a bit. If he wants to trade off that flyer. Yeah, I guess since I have first strike, yeah, I guess he could triple block me. So we'll go ahead and take out the 4/4. So yeah, that was okay. I mean, now we got a 4/3 flyer, as long as he doesn't remove it with first strike. I had forgotten that I had first strike. was thinking I could just trade some creatures off, but yeah, so he triple blocked me because of that. Wild Boar's got a Sandworm Convergence in his hand, which is a pretty nasty card. I've played against that card before. It's pretty nasty. All the creatures with flying can't attack you, so it pretty much shuts down all the flying creatures. Yeah, yep, he's going to start doing those -1/-1 counters. So that's a problem. The Nissa Planeswalker isn't too threatening. But yeah, I'm kind of not really getting the cards I want here. Got plenty of lands, and Wild Boar's got a pretty good hand. Once again, he probably should have played that on his untapped source. Gonna ramp with Nissa. And I don't know, I might have to just maybe I'll chump block with this 1/1 and then discard a land, see if I can draw into something better. Yeah, the first strike definitely helps, making attacks easier to do. And this vampire is just going to get bigger and bigger, but yeah, I'm afraid our opponent's probably going to aim a kill card at it pretty soon. We'll see what he does here. Though I notice the opponent, in the upper right is a little mana screwed. It's only got 3. Yep, there it is. Commit. Well, at least it goes back into my deck instead of a third from the top, I think it is, instead of being destroyed, so I can use it again as another discard outlet. But it did lose its +1/+1 counters. So yeah, this Nissa's -6 isn't really all that threatening, because it makes 2 5/5 elemental creatures with flying. So if Wild Boar plays the Sandworm Convergence out, that's pretty much going to be useless because flying creatures can't attack at all. So that Nissa isn't really a priority. Oh shoot. And I should have, paused and sacrificed there. I didn't. That was a misplay. I did not stop quick enough. It's one of the problems with this game. You do have to pause quickly when some things are happening at instant speed. If you want to actually do something, the game doesn't automatically hold priority, which is what you'd want. And yeah, I could have used the Ale Hounds last turn, or the Youths. Incorrigible, I'm going to call them the Incorrigible Ale Hounds, because they're just drinking ale there. And since it has haste, I don't want to waste my chance at haste here. If he wants to trade some stuff off, that's fine. With first strike, it makes it a tough choice. So I'll get a +1/+1 counter. That's nice. And Wild Boar's got his worm engine going, so now he's creating 5/5 worm creature tokens every turn. So that pretty much makes Nissa's ultimate kind of pointless, and flyers can't attack. However, that 2/3 flyer can still put -1/-1 counters on stuff, so in a way it's still a problem. And yeah, a hasty crocodile is also a problem. Although Wild Boar has got that same crocodile in his hand. And yeah, he's gonna put -1/-1 counters on my vampire. Shrink it down. So yeah, the board is stalling out a bit here. Oh man, it's gonna do another one. Surprised he's not shrinking down the 5/5. Probably because I have first strike, and by shrinking it down I can't really attack into the 5/4 anymore. With first strike. But I have another discard enabler ready. Hopefully I'll draw some more madness cards here. I am kind of top decking. So Wild Boar is going to search up some lands and transform his Nissa. Put the -1 counter on his Sandworm. And then he's going to activate his Nissa. Got a Gift of Paradise on top. So yeah, I thought it was kind of an elf deck that he was playing, but it's kind of a ramp deck with lots of big creatures as the payoffs for ramping with all the mana creatures. In a way, it's kind of an elf deck because it's got a lot of mana elves. Yeah, sadly, even though I have first strike, can't really attack into that 5/4. So we'll see what Wild Boar does here with the blocking order. So he decided to take out the flyer. Even though it couldn't attack us, the -1/-1 counters were definitely a nuisance. But yeah, the ground is kind of stalling here, and all I've got is got plenty of mana. Uh-oh. He's gonna kill something with that. Ooh, he's gonna destroy Nissa right off the bat. That's not cool. That 4/3 he played, he can sacrifice a creature and deal damage equal to its power to whatever target he wants. So sadly, Nissa down. At least our Nissa. Got an opponent. We got an evil Nissa on the other side. And yeah, that 4/4 flyer is useless because it can't attack. Although I guess the flyers can block still with that enchantment. It's just flyers cannot attack you, but they can still block. So yeah, since that 4/4 is out there, I still don't even have a good attack with the 3/2. But Wild Boar has some good attacks with his Sandworms, probably. Yeah, we are kind of getting stalled out here on the ground. That is one of the problems with the Madness deck. You know, it doesn't really have any drain abilities. Kind of like previously I showed off the Vampire Life deck, which you know, has lots of draining synergies, and even if there's a board stall, you can just drain your opponent's life to death. But the Madness deck doesn't really have much draining going on. It's just kind of a quick deck to get some big creatures out quickly by discarding them and winning the game quick, as you saw in the single-player rounds. It's pretty quick, but in Two-Headed Giant, as you can see, it can stall out a bit, but Wild Boar is making up for it here with some aggression with this Sandworm Convergence. And of course he's okay trading these tokens off because he makes a new one every turn. And he's just trying to keep the opponent's creatures at bay. Kind of reduce the opponent's board. And he gets to create another one. Yeah, that enchantment's pretty nasty, pretty powerful. If you had some kind of, you know, whenever a creature enters the battle effect, you'd be triggering it every turn pretty much. So he's going to bring back his 4/3, sacrifice this creature to get rid of mine, so that's unfortunate. And in hindsight, I should have kept the land in my hand. For the Madness deck, you know, if you've got a bunch of lands out like I do, you know, I really don't need 8. I honestly don't need this many lands. You should keep them in hand to discard for the discard synergies, especially if you're not drawing any of the Madness cards. You know, at least you have something to discard for your discard abilities. Yeah, the board is still kind of stalled here, and I'm not doing much on my side. Not able to do much. I can convert this 2/1 into a flyer, but he's got the 4/4 blocker, so there isn't much I can do about that. So just hoping maybe to draw into some of my kill cards or some more Madness cards. We'll see. But it'll probably just be a land, right? Fingers crossed. Well, not a land, but not the best draw either, since our opponent's not really in a position to be attacking us. The 4/4 can't attack us, the flyer. So Wild Boar is just going to go ahead and keep the pressure on, which makes it so that, you know, the opponent has to trade off a creature each turn pretty much, and then Wild Boar gets a free replacement. But yeah, I mean, things could go bad here. We'll see. And he's not really going to be attacking us, so this Murderous Compulsion isn't doing much. So yeah, there's that 5/3 really annoying flyer, but it's actually not going to do much since it can't attack. He is getting quite a bit of value out of that Nissa Planeswalker, though. Yeah, we need to see if we can... Oh, the Glorybringer. That's bad news. That's real bad news. Although, yeah, I guess it can't attack. So... usually the Glorybringer is pretty nasty. It can attack and do 4 damage to any target, you know, pretty much killing a valuable creature and then doing 4 to your face, but since it's a flyer, it can't actually attack, and therefore it can't exert and can't use its ability. You can still block with it, but yeah, actually the Glorybringer can't do much here. It's kind of a surprising turn of events. Got a Tormentor. Yeah, the problem is he's not attacking with anything, and so I can't really play this Murderous Compulsion since you can only play it on a tapped creature. So if he taps something, I can, you know, I can insta-kill it. So Wild Boar decided to go ahead and fight the Glorybringer. although it wasn't really much of a threat to us since none of the flyers are threats. They're just kind of annoying blockers right now. But yeah, our opponents have a lot of mana too. And he found a Defiant Great Maw with Nissa's ability. And he put the -1/-1 counters on the 5/3. Another good play by the opponent, since it canceled the -1 counter, but I may need to use this Insidious Mist, make it unblockable to get our last points of damage in. 3 attacks from it should win us the game. But anything can go. Ooh, that's definitely bad news. Because that 5/4 can put -1/-1 counters on all creatures your opponents control. Yep, and he's going to cycle now. I probably should have transformed my vampire there to keep her alive. Actually, I probably should just kill that 5/4. It's going to cycle some more. So it's also shrinking down all of Wild Boar's creatures, as you can see there. Hopefully he doesn't have any more. Oh wow. Yeah, that was pretty bad. You know what, maybe before all those -1/-1 counters, those are going to trade. Yeah, I probably should have sacrificed my my concoction there. Since I could have done this at instant speed. So yeah, I feel like that was a misplay. I should have done that immediately. So maybe some of you that know, let me know in the comments if I had triggered the concoction immediately to kill his 5/4 flyer, would it still have been possible for him to discard all his cards at instant speed to put all those -1/-1 counters on our creatures? I mean, would that still have happened before his creature died, or would the concoction have killed his 5/4 before he had a chance to discard all those cards? But I think you can cycle cards at instant speed, so technically I don't think it mattered. It was kind of a misplay on my part. I really should have targeted and used the concoction there. But yeah, maybe if somebody knows in the comments if I had targeted that 5/4 right away when it came into the field, if maybe I could have killed it before all those -1/-1 counters happened, or if the opponent would have just quickly cycled as many cards as he could have, before his creature died, and then it wouldn't have mattered. The -1 counters were still applied. But yeah, it's kind of a huge setback because I was planning on finishing the game off with my Insidious Mist, but now it's a 1/1. Which doesn't do much. And yeah, if I transform the 1/1 into the Insidious Mist, even though it's indestructible, the Insidious Mist is a 0/1, so if I transform it, it'll die instantly because of the -1/-1 counters on it. I'll demonstrate here because, yeah, it's pretty much useless. So if I transform this, yeah, it immediately dies. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, I really needed that to sneak in the last points of damage that we needed. Now the board is definitely stalling. So the Masquerade hasn't really done a whole lot for me this game. And it looks like Wild Boar is going to kind of hold back on his big creatures here to block. Fortunately, don't have to worry about the flyers, but the opponent across from him does have a lot of 4-powered creatures. Yeah, all of us have lots of mana. Maybe if I could draw my Asylum Visitor, that would be nice. But yeah, all those -1/-1 counters was a huge blowout. So maybe somebody can tell me in the comments if there was a better play that could have been made, you know, to maybe prevent that, or if it was just not really preventable. But I feel like it was a misplay on my part. I did have the opportunity. I mean, I was just holding on to that Murderous Compulsion in the hopes that I could use it efficiently, but get this. Well, at least I got a vampire. It's a discard outlet vampire, so I can draw some madness cards and I can take advantage of that. But it's obviously not real threatening on this board either. But yeah, it looks like Wild Boar is getting aggressive here with his big creatures, kind of forcing trades. But yeah, the opponent's pretty good with doing double blocks. I can't see the order, the block order that Wild Boar is choosing, but I'm assuming he's going to take out some of the bigger creatures. And then if he wants, he can bring his creature back from the graveyard by embalming it. So that 6/6 is pretty nice. 6/6 trample. But yeah, the Madness deck is kind of stalling out a bit. I mean, it's a great deck, and it does work in Two-Headed Giant. It's just this game we've been kind of stalled out, especially because of those -1/-1 counters. That was a huge blow. And the opponent's got so much mana that they can just play whatever they've got in their hand at this point. And they've got so many blockers that, yeah, I need another Insidious Mist to push the last bit of damage through. So yeah, losing the Insidious Mist was a big deal. That's definitely bought the opponent a lot of time in this game. Well, yeah, that's one of the things that makes Two-Headed Giant interesting, is the games are much longer. You know, there's a lot more interesting things going on and strategies to think about and, you know, plays to think about. I mean, it's not looking good for us, but we'll see. And of course, if the opponent can destroy Wild Boar's enchantment, then I think it's over for us. That enchantment is what's keeping us going here. Okay, well, Mortuary's something. I can get something back. As much as I want to get something else back, the Tormentor is probably the best. So I put it from the graveyard on top of my deck. So sadly I have to wait to draw it. But with the Tormentor, the elusive Tormentor transforming into the Insidious Mist at least 3 attacks. Since it does 4 damage, unblockable, 3 attacks will finish the opponent off. The Wild Boar does have that tireless tracker out there, which helps, oh of course, which helps to draw in more cards, which of course are going to be more lands. Not sure what, how many lands are in his deck, but probably quite a bit if it's a ramp deck. Probably needs a lot of lands for the big creatures. And once again, he's just kind of forcing the opponent, reducing the opponent's threats. The 6/6 has trample, so... But yeah, we're not making a whole lot of progress here. This two-headed giant game has been a lot longer than usual. And yeah, once again, either the Madness deck wins, fairly quickly, or it just kind of starts to stall out. Well, there's another unfortunately annoying flyer, but it can't attack, so... And of course, the opponent's Nissa isn't doing any ultimates, because the ultimate wouldn't actually do anything. Yeah, surprisingly, our decks have gotten pretty low here. Opponent's down to 29 and 30 cards. Even though we don't have any mill decks, I'm pretty sure this game won't end up with 29 more turns. That would be unfortunate. But we'll see. Yeah, I mean, some of these two-headed giant games can get lengthy and pretty interesting. But in all honesty, I think that's fun. I prefer games that are longer and more interesting than just a game. Well, have to wait for Wild Boar to draw his card here. Wow, at least he got a nice one. Let me get my Tormentor out here. Hopefully it doesn't get canceled. Or countered. And yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm not sure why the Tormentor... Okay, there we go. Just a little graphical glitch. For some reason the Tormentor flipped. And it showed my artwork there. So he's pushing damage with Gaia's Revenge. Unfortunately, it doesn't have trample. So once again, just trading. We're trading creatures off here every turn. But yeah, hopefully this Insidious Mist I can use to finish this game. Because it's pretty much a stalled game here. Who knows how long it would go. Because the opponent can keep embalming stuff. So he's got blockers for days. Doesn't really have that many good attackers, but he's got blockers for days. Although Wild Boar does have the Tireless Tracker, which is a great source of card draw. And maybe he can make it big enough where the opponent's going to have to trade off more resources. But we'll see. And I've got plenty of mana for transforming the Hideous Mist now. So hopefully I can draw some Madness cards each turn. Oh wow! Our opponent's also got a Sandworm Convergence. That is going to change things significantly. So now our opponent's going to be making a 5/5 worm token every single turn, just like we are. Wow. So I gotta wait for Wild Boar to do his thing. Making a clue token, sacrificing it, drawing a card. But yeah, we're gonna need to end this game soon. So let me discard this and play it out of madness. So luckily I drew a madness creature. So I can just play it as I discard it and transform into the Insidious Mist. So yeah, pretty much our best win condition here is this 0-1, believe it or not, which is unblockable. And when it attacks unblocked, which it always does, I can transform it. It also has first strike for what it's worth, but because it is a vampire, or because it's just an attacking creature, I guess I should say, it is a vampire, but the first strike is applied to all my attacking creatures. So I'm going to pay for this, so I got plenty of mana. Flip it and do 4 unblockable damage. Ooh, what's that? So our opponent did damage to all, flyers, but he paid 0, because obviously he wanted that in the graveyard to do damage to all ground creatures. But if he does that, it's going to wipe his board also. But yeah, he could play that, what is it, Heaven to Earth, dual-sided card. But yeah, he's not going to play it now because his ally played that 4-2 first strike, so... Yeah, this game would have looked very different without Wild Boar's enchantment there. The flyers would have gotten us long ago. But yeah, with the opponent having the same thing, it doesn't affect us too much because we don't have any flyers. But he's also making 5/5 giant worm tokens every turn. So yeah, this is one of the longer two-headed giant games I've ever played. But we're not giving up. My win condition is on the field. And it'll keep getting +1/+1 counters because it can attack unopposed. I guess, yeah, look at all those creatures he has. Oh, perfect. Perfect. The perfect card for me to discard. But yeah, I gotta wait here for Wild Boar to do his thing. Draw another card. Boy, yeah, he really got a lot of lands. Kind of, both of us were getting kind of flooded. But if the opponent doesn't have anything, this should win us the game right here. So I can discard this, play it for its madness cost, which is a single. Black, drain 3, gain 3, which puts him at 5, and I have 5 unblockable damage here, unless he's got something up his sleeve. Wild Boar is deciding what creature to attack with his cartouche. So yeah, if the opponent doesn't have anything, I think this should be it. I have 5 unblockable damage coming through. And first strike, so we're just going for it here. So I guess I'll just, doesn't really matter here. Let's pay for the Insidious Mist. 5 unblockable damage. There we go! Woo. Wow, that was a long game, but interesting. And that's the end. I want to thank everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed. this showcasing of the Madness deck. Try it out sometime. It's a pretty cool mechanic. Check out my main channel, East Guru Japan Gaming, for lots more gaming content. And we'll see you all in the next video. じゃあ皆さん、またね